Okay, this is Mr. Elmhorst with a sixth grade math lesson. We're going to look at adding and subtracting decimals and then focus on the adding and subtracting of fractions. So the first and foremost thing to focus on for decimals is going to be lining up your decimal place values and then adding whole numbers to whole numbers, tenths to tenths, hundreds to hundreds. So let's do this. Got 1.026, 029. So this one we're going to add them. Line up your decimal place values. So you're going to bring your decimal down into your answer. Fill in zeros for place value that does not have them. And then we're just going to add. So 9 plus 0 is 9. 6 plus 2 is 8. 4 plus 0 is 4. 2 plus 1 is going to be 3. So we should be good on the first one there. Just focus on lining up your decimal place values, then adding from there. Now the subtraction part is a little trickier only if you have to borrow. So we got 3.4. I'm going to move it over here so we have a little more space. And we're going to line up the decimal place value of $1.75. So if we had $3.40 and then we spent $1.75 on a bag of chips or a soda, how much do we have left over? So here we have 0, but we need to take away 5. Here we have 4, but we need to take away 7. Here we have 3, we need to take away 1. We can do that, but these other two, we need to do something called borrowing. So 10, we're going to borrow 10 from the 4. That makes it 3. And then we're still not going to have enough in the second place value. So we're going to borrow from the 2 to give us tenths, 10 tenths. There was 3, we put 10 with it, now it's 13. Now we have enough to subtract 5. 10 minus 5 is 5. 13, take away 7, we can do that. We have 13 now. That's going to give us 6. Bring your decimal down. So we should be good to go right there. Adding, subtracting decimals, line up your decimals, borrow when you need to subtract. Oh, 1, thank you. There we go. 2 minus 1 is going to be 1. Is that correct? Okay. All right, got a little ahead of myself. Now, use common denominators when you have unlike denominators in fractions. So in order to add thirds to fifths, those are different size pieces. So we find a common denominator between 3 and 5. The first common denominator is multiplying 3 times 5 to get 15, and then 5 times 3 to get 15. So if we do that, we're going to rewrite the fraction down below. 3 times 5 is going to be 15ths, and then 2 times 5 is going to be 10. And here we have 5 times 3, which would be 15ths. They're cut into the same size pieces, and then use the same one up here. 4 times 3, which is 12. Now that we have common denominator of 15, they're cutting the same size pieces. We have 10 on this fraction and 12 on this fraction. And then all together, we have 22 pieces out of 15, cut into sizes of 15ths. This is enough for a whole number. So we're going to divide this by 15. We're going to get one whole number, and then we're going to subtract. Divide and subtract to simplify. We have 22 minus 15, which is going to give us 7. 7 is a prime number. It cannot be simplified and does not have a factor with 15. So we should end up with 1 and 7/15. Now we have a mixed number and a mixed number. So you do not need to add, or you do not need to regroup these. Whole numbers can go with whole numbers, and then fractions go with fractions when you're adding and subtracting. So 1 plus 2 is 3, and then we have 5/8 plus 8/16. So we're going to put these fractions together and see what we end up with. So let me straighten that out. 8 has a multiple of 16, so we can just multiply this by 2, and that would give us 10/16. Now we can add 10/16 to 8/16, which is going to give us 18/16. This is going to give us enough whole numbers. This is going to give us enough parts in the numerator to give us a whole number with the denominator. So 16 goes into 18 one whole time, and then there's 2 left over out of the 18. We took 16 parts out of it to get a whole number, and then we have 2 left over out of 16. And that's going to simplify to 1/8. So I'm going to go back to what we started with. We had 3 whole numbers, and then we added the fractions, and we got 1 more whole number, and then 1/8 simplified. Putting it all together, now we have a total of 4 whole numbers and 1/8 left in the fraction once we added all those up. Okay, so the last part for this lesson is subtracting fractions. And if we look at 5 times 2, we can get a common denominator of 10 and 2 times 5. So 5 times 2 will give us tenths, and 4 times 2 will give us 8. 5 times 2 will give us tenths, 2 times 5 will give us tenths, and then 1 times 5 will give us fifths. So now that we have same denominators, common denominator of tenths and tenths, we can subtract the numerators. 8 minus 5 will give us 3 parts left over out of tenths. And then you're done. So here we have 5 and 1/3, and we need to take away a whole number and a fraction of different denominator values. So we got first part, 5 minus 1 is going to give us 4. And now we need to convert the fractions to common denominators. 3 has a multiple that equals 12. 3 times 4. Now we change the denominator to 12 and change the parts to 4. 4 parts out of 12, and then we have 7/12. So here we need to take away 7 parts out of 12, but we only have 4. So we can borrow 12 out of 12 from the whole number. So that's going to make this 3, and put a whole number over here so then we can subtract. We need to take away 7, but we don't have enough. So 4 plus 12 is 16/12, and then we need to subtract 7/12. Now that we have enough from the whole number, 16 minus 7 is going to be 9, and then 9/12. Put it back with the whole number that was left over. This is a correct answer, but it's not quite simplified. Divide by 3, divide by 3. You're going to end up with 3 and 3/4 simplified.